All right. Well, hello everyone, and the trilogy is now complete. Um, for the third time appearing on the channel is Steve Donoghue.
Hello,
So
everybody.
yeah, I keep forgetting to say I mean to start these by going hello booktube, and I forget every time to do that. But
Yes, the dragon is reborn,
that's right.
or
Um,
or is the king returned? I don't however it is.
Odysseus returns home. Well, Steve, I we were just talking before we hit record about the bean, and you're famously next to your love of books is your love of dogs. So I have to ask. I grew up like a bunch of the boys' books in our house were famous dog books. So White Fang, Call of the Wild, Old Yeller, Jim Kelgard, bunch of those. Do you have favorite dog books? What famous books about dogs do you think get things horribly wrong, and which ones do you like?
Uh, I don't have any favorite dog books, no, because they're all terrible. They're all terrible as depictions of dogs. They're, what you're getting is just a human, a quadruped human. In all cases, you're probably too young for anything like Bob, Son of Battle,
Yeah.
and you probably are too young to have watched Lassie on TV.
I read the book Lassie Come Home, but I don't know if
Uh,
that's the same thing.
no, I don't have any favorite dog fiction. No, not at all. It's all so unrecognizable that it says a lot about the author. It always
Mm.
says a lot about what the author thinks dogs are like. But no, I mean it's just abysmal, and it's they're meant to be animal stories. They're and all animal stories. The animals are just humans. So uh, the same thing with movies. I mean, I yield to no one in my affection for the movie Babe.
Mm.
But the dogs in that movie are just people. They're just humans, including quintessentially at the end of the movie when they are kissing. They're kissing each other. They're frantically licking each other's mouths because that's what humans do when they're happy. They kiss each other. And of course, because you couldn't have, a Disney rated family PG movie, if you showed at the end of the movie what dogs do when they really are happy around each other, you couldn't show that. So like they're kissing instead.
There you go. Yeah, yeah. Keeping it clean, I suppose. Did you ever read this? Sorry, I'm going to commit the sin of asking a "Have you read?" question. Did you ever read this book? It was a like a middle grade dog book called Wagget's Tale.
I don't think so. That doesn't ring a bell.
Okay, I don't think it was well known, but it was a dog book that my mom picked up at like a garage sale growing up, and it's a talking dog, book, but like dog runs away from his owner, gets abandoned by his owner, I forget, but ends up in this like large park in the middle of New York or some large town, and there's like dog pack wars going on where there's different like packs of strays doing it, which like I'm sure it's completely ridiculous, but that was just one that always stood out to me as like, this is kind of silly, but it was fun as a dog book, and I've never met anyone else who's read it, so.
No, the only dog books that I like, they're still anthropomorphizing, but kids books. There are
Hmm.
some dog oriented kids books that are very touching,
Hmm.
very very touching. Some of them actually don't anthropomorphize. Some of them actually just tell the truth. Where a lot of kids books are designed so that in addition to giving colorful stories and colorful pictures and whatnot, they are subtly teaching a kid a lesson,
Hmm.
teaching a kid something about the world that they are going to encounter to sort of lay the groundwork. And there are a number of dog books, kids books about dogs that lay the groundwork that your dog is going to die long before you do.
Yeah.
They're going to get old and they're going to die. They're not like the people around you are going to get old at the same speed that you are. And there's some very touching dog books that do that. Uh, but that's not the same thing as having them really for a character. The dogs don't speak in those books,
Yeah.
for instance.
Why do you think Old Yeller has stuck around so much?
Well, it's such a tearjerker,
Is that
right?
just it? We want to rip the hearts out of our children.
It's such a tearjerker. It works on such primary color emotions that you can assign it, for instance, to almost any grade, and it will work. I don't know off the top of my head of any adults that I currently know who've ever gone back and read the book as an adult. So it's clearly, I think the very basic primal emotional register is designed to work on kids. Although sometimes that does translate. I have gone back to read Old Yeller, and it's awful. It's just, it is extremely manipulative, and it is very effective at that. But as a book, as an adult, it's awful. Whereas something like The Yearling does still work on you. I mean, the whole payoff of the novel The Yearling is the final page. And that final page will work on you if you are 10. Absolutely it will. But it also works on you when you're older too. It's effective all throughout. I don't know. It's a tricky thing to do. I am always a little leery of, for instance, kids and young adult books that are about dogs at all that are assigned. Because they can be really, really well done. But I don't want them causing the kid to start pestering the parent for a dog. When, they want it now because you just read them an effective story, but they have no intention or ability to take care of a dog, much less give them a fulfilling life. Sorry, I don't mean to sidetrack us so early, but I absolutely shudder at the thought of how many dogs every year are given to children as gifts. Live, living animals with 15 years ahead of them. Totally dependent on you for every aspect of whether or not they're happy. And that's the only life they get. And I shudder to think of that. I don't even like to think about it.
The one that was sort of infamous in my family is Where the Red Fern Grows. There's a story of my younger brother coming downstairs and just sobbing, just tears running down his face. Mom's like, "What is wrong?" And he's like, "I just finished Where the..." And she's like, "Oh, okay, you're fine. Like, you'll be fine." But she was like worried he'd gotten hurt or something. But yeah, that book will do that.
Yeah, the classic scene from The Simpsons where Marge Simpson notices that Lisa's upset and says something happened to her, a fictional character. Lisa's our patron saint.
Steve, one of the when we talked about like, oh, we should chat again sometime, one of the things that crossed my mind is that I have been recently, and I wasn't even doing this intentionally, but I guess it's because you like lots of different books, but I've been reading a number of books recently that I'm like, oh, these are kind of like books I've heard Steve talk about. And so one of the forefront ones that came to mind is I've been recently going through the first few Barsoom novels by Edgar Rice Burroughs, which I'd read Burroughs when I was like very young, and like loved it and kind of like whetted my appetite for that type of action adventure pulp story. And so it's been kind of interesting going back to, because I think I only read A Princess of Mars when I was younger. So then going back to the Barsoom books now as allegedly an adult has been interesting. So when did you first encounter those Barsoom books?
You said interesting. Can we do anything more than that? Are you
entertaining? Great.
So you do
exactly what I need right now. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, and I really like them.
You've read Princess of Mars again, but nothing else?
So when I was younger, I just read the first one. I've read the first three now, or gone through the first three now. Yeah.
I will not confirm or deny how recently I reread A Fighting Man of Mars and how little excuse there was for that. right here on the Kindle.
yeah.
But I don't even remember when I first read them. I don't even remember. I remember they were Edgar Rice Burroughs, Robert E. Howard. These people were foundational to me. Them and Homer and Virgil and Horace. But I remember by the time I got to the Barsoom books, I was already a dedicated fan of Superman and Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes. So, you know, when I was reading the John Carter novels, I was thinking, okay, so what are his superpowers? what can he do? And why are you forgetting that? Why is he having so much trouble in this scene when he shouldn't have any trouble in this scene? There's a scene in a later novel, I think it's 5 or 6 novels in, where John Carter is, you know, he's using his sword, he's fighting an endless horde of barbarians and winning easily. And one of them is making a getaway, an open courtyard. One of them is making a getaway on a second landing. He is running inside the building. And John Carter is fighting his way to the foot of the stairs so that he can chase the guy, when he can easily clear that without even trying. He can simply jump that distance. It's just that Edgar Rice Burroughs either forgets or wants the drama of it.
Yeah.
And that bugged me, of course. But oh my, I fell under the spell of the Barsoom books so early on. It's just such an incredibly wonderful world.
And they're, even in the first 3, like, they're incredibly fun. There's a lot of great stuff there. But it's funny that you brought that up, because what is it? It's in book 3 where the Yellow Men of Mars are currently the ones who are holding Deja Thoris, and so he's going to rescue her. And so he's disguised as one of them, and then he starts, like, he sees her and starts, like, signaling to her, and then she's like mad and, like, looks away or refuses to acknowledge him, and he's, like, all offended of, like, my love, why would she not, like, respond to me? And, like, apparently completely forgets that he and his companions are in disguise. I'm sitting there like, all right, well, that's a bit, you know, that's a bit goofy, that's a bit convenient. But, like, the entertaining things about those books, I think, far outweigh the weaker parts of them.
Oh my, yes. No one does it better.
Yeah.
No one does it better than Edgar Rice Burroughs. Even when even in really dumb books, like he wrote a number of books about Pellucidar, about the Hollow Earth, about David Innes. Those are among his dumbest books. And even them, you cannot stop reading. You just can't do it. The first 3 John Carter books really do work as a kind of trilogy, or rather, the 2 and 3 are really a big operatic story that comes to a kind of conclusion. And then after that, you get freebooting adventures, which are the ones that I love.
Okay.
Swords of Mars, Fighting Man of Mars, especially Thuvia, Maid of Mars. Those freebooting adventures I just love so much. I just love them so much. I wish they could just go on and on. And I honestly don't know why they don't. I don't understand Edgar Rice Burroughs Incorporated at all. I never have understood them. I mean, you don't want to adulterate the brand with franchise fiction, with pastiche fiction. Okay, I guess I kind of understand that. But the final John Carter adventure isn't complete. You could at least complete it. You could at least do that.
Yeah.
And it just, I don't get it. They license out the comics, but there are no novels. And that just mystifies me.
But it's also, like, look at what your audience is. It's not like it's not like science fiction and fantasy fans are the most snotty, like, oh, I would never. I mean, Star Wars novels sell better than ever. Yeah. Kevin J. Anderson and Brian Herbert have made a career out of doing this. How many Conan pastiche novels have been done? Like 50 or something like that?
The Conan stuff, the Robert E. Howard stuff is a perfect example.
Arguably, Conan stuck around even more because the pastiche stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Conan, let me go read the originals and this,
And the current owner of that franchise takes real scrupulous care about the books that they bring out. They vet them, they care for them, they give them a good deal of editing, they give a good deal of story pounding in terms of the Robert E. Howard continuity, and not just for Conan. I'm amazed, a little abashed that I read a Solomon Kane novel and really liked it.
I just read that. Yeah.
I don't know why Edgar Rice Burroughs Incorporated can't do the same thing. They go in the opposite direction. They do no bookstore releases of their material at all. There is no current, I don't think there is a current trade paperback of the Tarzan novels in the bookstores. I don't believe that that's because they had some marketing savant tell them that they wouldn't be worth the price of printing them. I don't believe that at all. But it's strange. It's very strange. I would love a carefully constructed new John Carter of Mars novel. I would love that. And it wouldn't have to be a big deal. What's his name? Marv Wolfman, when he was given the job of writing John Carter of Mars stories for Marvel Comics back in the 70s, he remembered or realized that at the end of A Princess of Mars, we are told that 7 years pass before the end of the story.
Yeah. It's like, well, what happened there?
Right, exactly. There's a gap. He recognized right away, I can just fill that with all I can't do is introduce people who show up after that. But I can fill that with adventures. I don't
or
know
you
why.
do the classic, you introduce them and then have everyone's minds get wiped so they don't remember
it. Often happens on Barstool. There's all sorts of, it's just the background setting of this desperate dying world. It's, that apart from any of the other machinations that are going on, apart from anything that anybody wants, any princesses who are kidnapped, any soldiers have to prove their worth, anything like that, apart from all of that, the world is dying. That kind of a background thing. I just love that.
Yeah.
Like for instance, Song of Ice and Fire at the beginning, where in addition to everything else that's going on, there's also this menace that nobody even knows about, or that nobody knows a lot about, and that it has an agenda of its own, as opposed to something like, for instance, Lord of the Rings, where the threat is the background threat. All the threats are connected in the one thing that everybody knows about. Whereas with the Barsoom books, there's nothing anyone can do about the fact that Mars is dying. There's no miracle cure for that. I think it frustrates me. That's all. It especially frustrates me today because I have been reading a book called The Taper Man, which is the next George Smiley novel by Nick Carraway, the son of John le Carré. A few years ago,
what's the name of the writer in The Great Gatsby? It's something Carraway, isn't it? Yes, that's what I thought you said for a second there.
Well, he did a Smiley pastiche novel. Oh no, not it is Carraway, it's Harkaway that I'm talking about. Nick Harkaway. Okay. He did a pastiche novel of George Smiley and the circus, and that whole Cold War thing. It was announced years ago, and when I saw the announcement, I thought, okay, well, I love this guy's books on his own. I love his own books. He wrote a novel called Tiger Man that's just incredible, for instance. But nobody can write a George Smiley novel except John le Carré. And the fact that he's the biological son of John le Carré that's just a marketing thing. And then I read the book Carla's Ghost, and it's incredible. It's incredibly good. So now I'm eager for him to, as far as I'm concerned, he could keep writing George Smiley novels for the rest of his life. But I read Taper Man, and it's fantastic, and it's got my dander up about how cherry a lot of people are with franchises. I don't know what the reason for that is. Is it really just money? Or is it maybe that a lot of these franchises are optioned for the big screen, and that tamps down on what you can do in print?
That's certainly not the case with John Carter.
Not going to be the case with John Carter. How I wish. It wouldn't be a movie. If I did it, it wouldn't be a movie. It would be a long series for TV. That's where the action is. That's where you can actually unfold a plot.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have it be his origin story either. That's way too distracting. You can thumbnail that in about 5 minutes.
Well, and also it is so close to, like, Frank Herbert seems to be riffing on Carter to a certain extent with his story. Avatar almost works as an adaptation of A Princess of Mars. It's been like that plot has been done and redone so much that maybe that's to the detriment of that John Carter movie from the 2010s, where it's like, oh, we'll do like that first book again. It's like, well, like, do that as like the 10-minute like prologue to the story, and then get onto the stuff that's a little bit more different, so that you're not just walking through the same story beats. again.
Yeah. Although I think it would be easily possible to do, and yet no. I mean, we could run right down the list of classic properties that no one seems to be doing anything with.
Yeah.
Very annoying. Very annoying, especially when I have now read another Smiley novel. So there have been two now that John le Carré didn't write nor even know about, and that are really good and really faithful to the feeling of the originals, but also different in their own way. I guess maybe it's just dumb luck. I mean, Nick Harkaway's a terrific writer. Maybe you need to start there. Maybe you need to start there. Although I don't remember the name of the author of that Solomon Kane book.
It was Sean Hamill. I know because I just read it. So,
do I know Sean? Would I know that name?
He's written other books, but I didn't recognize any of the other ones.
I'll know him really well when you interview him.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember, but like I messaged you about it. I was like, "Hey, I just saw this. Is it any good?" And you said yes, which surprised me because I know you're not the biggest Solomon Kane fan.
I'm not a big Solomon Kane fan.
And no. I've been reading the Howard Kane stories, and I've been enjoying them. And just on a whim, was like Googling for different editions of it, and I was like, "Oh, there's a Solomon Kane pastiche novel. I hadn't heard about that." It's like, "Oh, it like just came out." And by the way, it's like the first pastiche novel, or maybe there's been like one or two others, but not many, not like Conan. So that was quite a surprise for me.
Do you have the illustrated Ballantine edition of the complete Solomon Kane?
I have, yeah, the one from, what is it? Is it Del Rey?
Or is it Del Rey?
Yes, yeah. It is. It's Del Rey. It does say Ballantine on it. Yes, so that's the one.
Are they? Oh, there they all are. Yes, indeed.
Yep,
yes.
right there. Yep.
I see the call volume. Yeah, they clearly knew, that editing team clearly knew that they were making the must-have edition. I pulled out all the stops,
yeah,
which is great. You want to see that. You want them to be scrupulously edited, well introduced, original artwork. You want all that.
Yeah. I
was thrilled when they started coming out.
Maybe I'm overestimating the Howard market, but it's like, man, I'm kind of surprised that they haven't done another version or haven't, done another edition of like, here's all of Howard's stuff, in some sort of nice hardback edition. I know there's, I don't know what Howard's foundation or what his legacy is, but I know they've been putting out some more stuff recently, but I'm surprised a big publisher hasn't, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I look over your shoulder at those books, and I imagine the equivalent for Edgar Rice Burroughs.
Yeah.
And it breaks my heart.
Yeah.
Even if you're not going to do, Tarzan, there's a whole shelf of books, but John Carter of Mars, you could do volumes like that with new artwork. Artists would work at a cut rate, page rate to do that. And instead, no. No.
Did you like the John Carter movie from the 2010s?
I like parts of it. I like parts of it. I don't like it when Hollywood tries to make an actor become something. I don't like that. That's not the way it works. You don't get to tell the audience who the next star is. They tell you that. And modern Hollywood hates that. They don't want that at all. Instead, they just say, here's somebody, and we're going to keep showing you this somebody. We're going to keep putting him in major products. We're going to make him your favorite. And the only thing that's going to derail that is if he's credibly accused of cannibalism. And I don't like that phenomenon at all. I'm perfectly willing to admit, everyone was perfectly willing to admit, that Taylor Kitsch was great in Friday Night Lights as Tim Riggs. He was great in that show. That doesn't make him a Hollywood star.
Yeah. Somehow even Armie Hammer would have been a better John Carter. I
just, there were parts of it that I liked. Visually, I thought it was amazing. Just amazing. Visually, it was what I wanted, what I'd always wanted. I wanted to see John Carter displaying these incredible physical abilities that he has on Mars. I wanted the exotic look of it all.
Yeah,
There were a lot of opportunities. There were a lot of missed opportunities, I thought.
I was because I watched it shortly after reading Princess of Mars when I was young, but I haven't seen it like since then, and so just going back, I've been like, how much did I like that? I remember not loving Taylor Kitsch in it, but I guess I'll have to revisit the movie sometime.
Also, didn't understand what the decision was on the part of the special effects team and the director of photography to make the Tharks spindly.
Yeah, I was thinking that as I was reading the book. As I was reading the book, I'm like, these things are supposed to be huge, aren't they?
Yeah,
like
they did not look frightening at all. None of them.
No.
It's certainly not how I picture Taras Tarkas, or well, any of them really. I mean, when you've got when in the background of the Barsoom stories, we are told that native red men and women of Barsoom will live for 1,000 years easily in perfect youth, but that they never do because their life is so violent. And among the violences that Edgar Rice Burroughs enumerates, I mean, he mentions they have a dueling society, they have a sword play society, but he also mentions that lurking in the background of all of that are the roving bands of savage warhoon that patrol the dead, dry sea bottoms of the planet. Where is there anything threatening in the movie about that? They're not threatening at all. Look like a stiff breeze would blow them over.
Yeah. No, it's a shame and a missed opportunity. And then the other thing that I've been working through, and I'm interested once again to hear about your first exposure to this, but is I have been. This is so like a normie stereotypical thing, but I've been going through Homer, be, because I'm a Nolan fan, very unashamedly, and I know everybody is saying the movie looks like garbage and it's not going to be good, and I'm still holding out hope. And I never made it all the way through the Iliad, and I'd not read the Odyssey, so I've been going through that. And
how can you not make it all the way through the Iliad? Did you have a stroke?
That's very well possible.
How can someone stop reading the Iliad?
So I'm curious to know if you have. I know you always say like read the translation that works for you, but I'm wondering if you have a favorite. I suppose you read it in the Greek, but like if you have a favorite translation.
Well, I do still have favorite translations, yeah. Although it's increasingly hard for me to pick just one. Forever and ever, I always said the Robert Fitzgerald translation has a kind of an arch dignity to it that I like. It's more readable than, for instance, the Lattimore translation. I think it's more readable than the Fagles translation. But there are others. There are others that that are tough for me to dismiss. Alexander Pope is, he did an Iliad that would be doubly alien to modern readers. Because not only is it the Iliad, but it's the Iliad in rhyming couplets. But I just love it. Oh,
interesting.
I just love it. I love it so much. But probably even now, still for general purposes, it would be the Fitzgerald translation in English. There are all sorts of adaptations that I like, but as far as translations, probably that.
Part and parcel with the controversy with Nolan's Odyssey coming up has been a bunch of people scrutinizing because he said he liked Emily Wilson's translation.
Right, he used Emily Wilson's translation. Yeah.
Do you like Emily Wilson? Do you not like it? What do you think?
No, Emily Wilson's translation is not good.
Okay.
No. She went into the book intent on finding a particular version of the Odyssey. And that is not a trustworthy translator. That is a translator who is manifestly untrustworthy. And if I suppose if you're going to a translation of something like the Iliad for a work in itself, as the translation being a work in itself, well, then you're not going to be bothered by that. And I guess I'm not usually bothered by that. I mean, I'm looking at, plenty of translations of Homer have taken liberties. With the line or with the way you stuff, it's difficult to explain. When you cannot possibly just translate the Greek. You have to stuff it with stuff. You have to stuff the lines with stuff the meaning. You have to pad it out, and also a lot of times simplify it. And there are all sorts of ways to do that. So I love English language translations of the Iliad. I make a study of them every year. I make a study of some new one every year. But the struggle that I want them to be going through is, what is my vision of how to do that, as opposed to how am I going to ignore that in order to write my vision on the page, which doesn't necessarily have anything to do with Homer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm probably being very obscure. She's not a trustworthy translator, and I also think her version is not very good. Just in terms of reading experience, I think you can tell how badly she is straining to pull a different poem out of the one she's actually reading in Greek. And as a result, we get the Christopher Nolan Odyssey.
So this may sound like kind of a weird,
which is awful. The Christopher Nolan Odyssey is awful.
You've seen it already?
I have. I've seen a screener of it, and it is terrible.
Yeah,
it's awful. It's awful.
Like I said, I'm holding out hope, but I guess we'll see.
I'm sure it's going to be a huge hit.
Yeah,
but it is awful. If you're a Nolan fan, then you might not care. But if you take an objective step back while you're watching it, you will realize what you're seeing. And I'm sure that you could find what you're seeing on YouTube. Just go to the YouTube search bar and type in high school production Iliad Odyssey and watch what they did. What they do. It's the same thing. Also, the visual effects aren't much better than high school could do. I think it made scarcely a single good decision. Well, I'm not a Nolan fan, but I'm not a Nolan enemy either. If it makes $1 billion, he will do the Iliad, and then I will be ready to jump off a bridge. It's just going to be awful. That is just going to be awful. I'm kind of a fan of the movie Troy. In a way, I'm kind of a fan of it. It's not really possible to film the Iliad in a movie. You could do it for a cable show. In fact, that would be great if you did one book per episode for 24 episodes, so 2 seasons. You could easily do that, and that would be amazing. But maybe get a different director for each one.
Yeah.
A different director of photography for each one. But the Odyssey anyway.
Well, so here's part of why I bring this up. So about the only ancient text that I'm very, very, very familiar with, unsurprisingly, is the Bible. The only one that I've read and reread and has influenced my thinking more than probably anything else has. And maybe this will sound silly, and maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but there are some times when you're reading, even as somebody who isn't fluent in ancient Hebrew and Greek, I can read things in a translation where, like you described with Emily Wilson, where it feels like something is being forced, or where you're trying to. So I assume you've read a lot of different translations of the Bible. Are you familiar at all with the Passion translation? I've read.
It's over on the shelf.
Not all of the Passion translation, but a good portion of what he's done. And so much of it feels, at least to me, felt very forced. Where he's like, I have a type of vibe and Jesus calling thing that I want to come out of how this reads that isn't there in the original text, and even not speaking fluent ancient Greek, you can still tell that from reading enough good translations to be like, this isn't meshing. And as somebody who, full disclosure, I'm going through Emily Wilson's translations because I just wanted to see what the controversy was about them. And there were times where it kind of was reminding me of when I read the Passion translation, where it's like, okay, maybe that is there. Maybe I'm completely jumping at shadows here, but that feels not anachronistic exactly, but it's like like the translator is trying to put something in there or trying to
Yeah.
push something forward, you know? And it's not like it's, I don't know, like the internet discourse of it is either like, no, this is the greatest piece of translation, classical masterpiece, or it's like, this is the biggest piece of feminist woke trash. And it's like, both of you guys are annoying. So I'm not necessarily saying one way or the other, but that feeling of it being forced reminded me of reading that translation of the Bible.
Yeah. The only difference, I agree. I agree completely. The only, there are parts of what Emily Wilson does that are interesting. Just like the project of the Passion Translation is in itself interesting.
I guess I should say, because the Passion Translation isn't technically a translation even in what it's doing. So I guess I shouldn't say that that's the same as what Emily Wilson is doing.
But the key difference is they are the same in that both are agenda driven rather than accuracy driven. But Emily Wilson's agenda is, I want to find a feminist epic buried in this unbelievably masculine work. I want to find a feminist epic buried in it. Or if there isn't one, I want to make sure to mock the masculinity. Even though the poem doesn't always do that. If you want an epic poem that mocks masculinity, you'd be better off with Virgil than you would with Homer. But she does that. And the editorial board of the Passion Translation and other modern agenda-driven Bible translations do the same thing. The thing that you just mentioned. They're going into it saying, well, my religious belief says that this is all one work by a divine mind, and that this earlier collection of texts that factually is not connected with the later text at all has to be connected with them. It has to be a forerunner of all of them. It has to be foretelling all of them. And there's not enough there when I find it originally in the original text. So I'm going to sort of massage it a little. Both are agenda driven, but there's a huge difference, which is that the men and women who are doing the Passion version of, and also other versions like that, aren't just pushing an agenda. They're correcting their God. They're saying, we believe that this was divinely inspired as a thematic whole, but you didn't do a good enough job. We're going to do a little more of a job, which always struck me as far more enormous. It's always struck me that a Christian, a believing Christian, would want the most accurate translation in the world of what's actually there.
What the Passion Translation does to even just the Song of Songs is unforgivable, where they're like, hey, we're going to take stuff in the Old Testament and we're going to highlight things in red, which in every Bible dictates this is dialogue that is attributed to Jesus. And we're going to do that like, there's passages in like Genesis that you could make an argument for that based on your biblical interpretation, you know, with like, I understand people make those arguments, but to do that in the middle of Song of Songs, because we're going to turn it into some like big metaphor and then make it like hyper literal in that sense. Speaking as a believer, is almost unforgivable.
Well, you know yourself from personal experience that there are two different kinds of believers. There are the believers where all of this epigraphical stuff actually matters a lot, and then there are believers where their faith is coming from somewhere else, and so they're not threatened by the text or what people do or what's actually in the text at all. That was the huge bone of contention in the Reformation, where Reformation scholars were saying, why on earth are you threatening my life when all I'm doing is pointing out what is actually in the text? I am fluent in this language. I worked a long time to get fluent in this language, and the way that you are portraying it in the Jerome or whatever is simply wrong. How on earth can you threaten me for saying that when the words are right there on the documents? It does threaten some people, but when the jump from the sheer thrilling epic nature of Homer isn't all that broad with a lot of the Old Testament. A lot of the flavor of that is definitely there, with these larger than life characters, these amazingly memorable, scenes and tableau and whatnot. A lot of that is there.
And also seeing no distinction between historical battles and divine intervention meddling in that. I mean, that's like,
Yeah.
that's all throughout the Book of Kings. That's all throughout, Exodus and Joshua. And,
It's in
I
Kings, it's
mean,
in
that's
Joshua, it's in Samuel, where it's very much a divine haunted world.
Yeah.
Much like in Homer, and also in, for instance, the Arabian Nights, where you've got the normal world and then a supernatural world is just woven in with it. So that's why it's always, I mean, I love that world. Obviously, I love that world. I've spent a lot of time in that world, and it's also an easy jump from that world to science fiction and fantasy. But it's as much as I love that world, and I'm gearing up. In August, I will be rereading the Odyssey, as I do every year. But as much as I love that world, that aspect of the real world mixing with the divine changes and becomes so much more interesting in the New Testament. It's just so much more fascinating, so much more subtle as to what's going on there. Where all of a sudden the point is the reversal. All of a sudden the point is that no thundering power is going to intervene. That's the whole point, is that no thundering power is going to intervene. That the divine figure at the heart of this story is divine because of the reverse of all the divine qualities in the Old Testament, in Greek mythology and Norse mythology. I think it's just utterly fascinating. Well, I'm preaching to the choir here, as it were, but I find that utterly fascinating.
Yeah.
No offense at all to fans of the Old Testament, but I think the New Testament is just endlessly fascinating along those lines.
Yeah.
Because in its own way, it is the same seamless blending of the real world and the supernatural, but in a completely different way than anything else. Anyway, so I don't know how we get on this subject.
No, that's good. I'm curious in Homer. So with my only exposure going cover to cover with the Iliad has been through Emily Wilson. Then, like I said, I'm about halfway through her version of the Odyssey, and I can tell it's a text I'm going to need to come back to. And Fitzgerald will be the next translation I go to then. But is that high melodrama just inherent to the story itself, or is that something that's being added? Because that was one thing that was cracking me up as I was reading it, because I was reading it around the same time that I was reading through the Solomon Kane stories, and it's like everyone gives these Pulp writers a hard time for how utterly melodramatic their stories are, and it's like, I mean, I guess I have a high tolerance for that, but then I'm reading Homer and I'm like, I mean, like, it's right here though, guys.
Yes. Yeah, almost everyone speaks in histrionics. Almost everyone does. In set pieces. And that's literally what they were. You have to keep in mind that these things were orally performed. And it could easily be true that if you have wandered, or you have taken a gig at some court, and the king fancies that somewhere in his genealogy is, for instance, Nestor in the Greek army, that somewhere in 80 million grandfathers ago, he is a descendant of Nestor. Well, in the Iliad, there are a couple of moments where Nestor can have a really stirring melodramatic speech. You're going to brush that up if you're headed to that court. In fact, you're going to add to it. And maybe the more purple it is, the better. Same thing with all of the action scenes as well. So or a lot of the action scenes as well, as you're going to, it's so fluid a thing. We don't think of it that way because we encounter it frozen, but it wasn't born that way. It was born as a fluid thing. And because of that, you don't know who you're going to please, who you're going to need to please. So everyone has to talk that way. Everyone has to proclaim in histrionics. Not everybody. There's some characters who don't. Famously, in the Iliad, there's a character named Thersites who is a lout. He's a complainer. He's a slacker. He doesn't speak in high metrics much at all.
Is it? I guess I'm not super familiar with what's the normal takeaway from the Iliad, but I'm assuming I guess I would ask if it's normal, but like I walked away being like finding Hector to be the most impressive and memorable
Yeah.
character out of the whole
Oh
thing.
yeah.
And I went in expecting Achilles to be essentially the center point of the story. And it's, obviously he's there and he's memorable and important and everything, but like he's out of the action for a huge chunk of it.
Yeah.
And I found Hector to be, I mean, once again, he's kind of alien in the sense of, some of the conversations he has with his wife. Like, I can't even imagine growing up in a culture where it's like, oh, and that's like the honorable and right thing. But also, like, he's a heroic character in other ways. And so Hector was probably my favorite center point to the whole poem.
Yeah, he was job number one for me years and years and years ago. I wrote a novel of the Trojan War from start to finish, not just the Iliad, but the whole thing. And I knew that when I got the Greeks to Troy, Hector was going to be job number one because he is the best character in the poem, but he's done wrong on two separate occasions. I think one is when he meets his wife before a major battle, and she's carrying their baby, and he declaims for her. Talk about purple prose. He goes on and on about how miserable it's going to be, how you're going to be sold as a slave, and you're going to stand there on the wall and watch while they throw your baby off the battle.
That's what I was thinking of.
And when it came time for me to write that, I made the obvious decision, which is that he thinks that and doesn't say it. I still have him think it in all the detail in the world, but he doesn't say it aloud to his wife, for Pete's sake. And the other thing, of course, is at the very end, because the last thing he does is run for his life, and the Hector that we knew all through the poem would not do that. And so I have my Hector not do that. He doesn't do that. Fear overcomes him. Fear of the charge of Achilles overcomes him. He knows already that he's doomed, right? That great moment when he turns to Deiphobus for another spear, and there's no one there because it was an illusion. He was tricked into facing this unbeatable opponent on his own. It's just a wonderful moment where he knows he's doomed. And in my book, in Troy War, he does what Hector would do. He realizes he's doomed and just decides to fight. As opposed to the protracted humiliation of him running around the city. He doesn't just run a little. He runs a lot.
Yeah. No, it's how are Stephen Fry's Greek myth books?
They're good. They're basic.
Okay.
They're very basic, but they're good.
Because I probably need a basic primer in Greek myth to read.
They're very enthusiastic. He's wonderful at that. They put an arm around you and say, hey, this stuff is great. Let me show you a little bit about why. He isn't the only one who does that. I mean, you could read the Trojan War sections of Edith Hamilton's mythology. That's 100 years old. Does a wonderful job. You could read the Trojan War sections of Bullfinch's mythology. That's 200 years old. Does a wonderful job. But Fry does a good job too.
Okay. I'm familiar with him like as a personality, and a comedian and an actor, and so I think that's why it's caught my eye for a few years now that he was working on that project. But yeah, so
I don't think you need much other than just a who's who of who the characters are, depending on your translator. Homer in the Greek doesn't always identify anybody. Conclusive. He does for his own audience, but he doesn't. That's another one of the things you have to stuff into the Greek. And so if you're looking at preserving some sort of metricality, it's going to be a real task, because you're going to have to add things. When in the middle of a passage, when Homer says, well, this decision was taken by the smithy god or by the mouse god, and and that's it. That's all he says. And those are both Apollo, but you're not going to know that from context. And a translator is going to have to add that in.
Sure.
And Greek is the ancient Greek is so, it's such a difficult language. It's such a complex language that you have the freedom to do that. Whereas, for instance, it's for some reason you have more freedom to do that than in a much more modern work like the Divine Comedy, where Dante will also sometimes paraphrase who he's talking about. And there, no translator's ever going to add in the name into the line. They're just going to put a footnote down below, which, you know, maybe some enterprising translator of the Iliad should do. I worry about the direction that Iliad translations are going in, so, to put it mildly. But I'm so happy to hear that you're reading it. Are you liking it?
Yeah, I think some of the how like foreign and distant it is has been like a challenge for me. It just, I guess, even just like on an entertainment level. But there certainly is a lot of almost deja vu going through it, where it's like I've been reading stories and seeing movies that are influenced by this for all my life, and so kind of going back to the original text has been, I mean, like, for Pete's sake, the Odyssey is like, half the blockbusters ever made are this, like, you can, even on something like Lord of the Rings, you can see the fingerprints of Homer on it.
This is where it all starts. So this is where you will get not only all of those archetype stories, but also the whole idea of internal consistency of what later genres refer to as world building. You'll get all of that here. It's born here, where you get layers and layers of things that are and are not possible, as opposed to some amorphous, like, for instance, the gods. You don't have an amorphous conception of the gods at all. They have physical limitations. There are things they can do, and there are things they can't do. It's not like Homer is going to say, well, now I need them to do something that I've never had them do before, or that I've said they can't do. He's never going to do that. He's very consistent in that regard, and that's terrific. That is the absolute template for all of the fantasy and science fiction that you read, is that he doesn't just make things up as he goes along. He doesn't change things as he goes along. His gods have limitations. There are things that they can't do, and they're very explicit about it. Zeus is very explicit, telling the gods, I am more powerful than all of you put together. So, don't try me, because I'm also short-tempered, which is why they have to trick him instead of banding together against him. We see the gods are perfectly able to send dreams to mortals. They're perfectly able to weave illusions for mortals, so that mortals see something that isn't really there, but they aren't able to read mortals' minds.
And even something like that, I'm going like, this is like Roald Dahl using this in like the BFG, something as silly as like a kid's book, it's like, well, like, there you go. There's another influence point.
So you're going to go on to read the Odyssey?
So I'm about halfway through it now. Yeah, I think I'm enjoying it more, although I don't know that I'm liking comparing Wilson's translations between the two. The one for the Odyssey, maybe I'm just jumping at shadows, but it seems to be a bit more, I'm not liking it as much as I did her translation of the Iliad.
That's because it's worse. Might be one reason.
Sure.
But boy, what a story.
Yeah.
Oh my, what a story. Just amazing.
Yeah, I'm just finished up the Cyclops portion. So, yeah.
Yes, the Cyclops portion. Yes, where Cyclops is a son of Neptune. And when he is blinded, Neptune perceives a deep dislike of Odysseus.
Yeah.
And plagues him across all the oceans, except
it'll create some problems.
Homer's got the timeline a little wrong. He's got his own timeline a little wrong, because Neptune is fighting against Odysseus before that happens. Homer occasionally mixes up the effect of his various flashbacks on present events, but nobody's perfect.
Actually, that sort of ties into one other thing, because you're talking about like mixing up things, and this is, I guess, sort of a complete left turn here. But what did you think of Cloud Atlas by David Mitchell?
I liked it.
Because I just read that this month, and I'm like, maybe it's because I haven't read as much as you have, but it was like, it blew my mind. I was like, oh, this is great. So I really enjoyed it, and I don't know that I've heard you talk about it.
It's pretty fiercely energetic. It's not my favorite book of his, but it's pretty fiercely energetic. I love it when you get the sense, as you do in Cloud Atlas right away, and it just intensifies the more you read, that the author has been over his work a million times.
He has complete control of what he's doing.
He has complete control of the narrative.
I don't feel like the high concept of it has gotten away from him and that we're wasting time in this.
Whereas you read a lot of contemporary fiction, including a lot of contemporary science fiction and fantasy, you can feel the wheels come off the wagon in chapter 4. With Cloud Atlas, you get the impression that Mitchell has worked over the ramifications of the story endlessly before he set word to paper, which is terrific. I really, really enjoy that. I get a lot of that same impression with my favorite book of his is The Bone Clocks. I think that's a lot the same way. You get that impression with someone like, with a book like Perdido Street Station, where it's you get the feeling that it's been thoroughly worked over. As opposed to some fantasy series where I get the impression that the author is just making stuff up as he goes along. And that always feels a little funny to say, because of course authors all make up stuff as they go along, but you know what I mean. You
have to some hide the illusion better than others.
Yeah. If you live with it, if you really live with your story, all the ramifications of it, then I think it can sometimes show. I'm curious though, what prompted you to pick it up?
The Matrix was a very formational movie for me as a kid, and which I guess that's the case for a lot of people. But I love the Wachowskis as filmmakers. Even the movies of theirs that everybody hates, I still like. I like Jupiter Ascending. I don't think it's I don't think it's a masterpiece, but I like it. And I knew that they'd made a Cloud Atlas movie, but I'd never seen it. And wanting to be more of a completionist, I was like, well, I really should read the book first, because I've heard it's good. And there's some people who have read it in the last couple of years that I knew who sung its praises. And so I decided to pick it up earlier this month and went through it, and then went and watched the movie and got to check it off. So that was kind of what prompted that.
Have you followed all the other Matrix movies?
I have, yeah. I love all of them.
Even the latest one, the one with an older Keanu Reeves.
That one, I think, does some of the most interesting stuff of any of the Matrix movies.
Oh, kidding. The only person I've ever met who liked it.
I believe it. Nobody does. See that up it? That's Neo from
wow, there you go.
The most recent Matrix movie. Yeah.
I think the first movie is just incredible.
Yeah.
Just incredible. All the stuff that is supposed to manipulate me and work on me does.
Yeah.
Even though I know that it's supposed to. The most blatant example being the ending when Neo becomes the one. That whole scene.
Yeah.
From when he wakes up, when he comes back alive, when he resurrects, all the way to the end. That sequence is just amazing. I could watch it a million times, even though I know how manipulative it is. I still love it. I still just love it. But I don't know about the direct sequels. Were the Wachowskis involved in the direct sequels?
Yeah, they did. So, the most recent one, the Wachowskis have kind of like parted ways, and I believe it was Lana that just solo made the fourth one. So, yeah.
But the second and third ones.
Yeah, that was both. They were Larry and Andy at the time, but Lana and Lily both were making those two. Yeah. And funny enough, since we're on topic, the fourth Matrix movie, you know who one of the screenwriters was on it? David Mitchell.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That shocked me. I was like, what? So, yeah. I think so. one of the things that people love about that first movie that the sequels always failed at is the reawakening plot line to it of Neo like awakening and realizing that this world isn't real and the whole process of getting unplugged and learning all of that. And the sequels were never really able to do that plot line again because he's already woken up. And so that's one of the things that I thought that fourth movie did, where it's like, without just undoing everything that the last movies have done, how do we capture that again? And so you have this whole thing of, because at the end of Matrix 3, I guess spoilers for the Matrix guys, but the end of Matrix 3, Neo creates this peace deal with the machines where he says, anyone who wants to leave the Matrix, you've got to release them so they can come to Zion. And everybody who wants to stay plugged in, like, fine, keep using them as batteries because that's what they want. And the result is this power deficit. And so the machines essentially resurrect Matrix or Neo and Trinity and use them to fill the power vacuum that the rest of the Matrix, or that has been caused because of all the people who had left the Matrix previously. And so this new version of the Matrix is essentially powered by the two of them. And so then it becomes the whole big unplugging plot line. And that's why they basically end the movie as demigods, like flying off, is because
flying off. Yes.
Yeah. They're what is powering this Matrix. They're fully in control of it. So anyway, I get why people are like, oh, the action isn't as good. There's not as much gun stuff. Neo basically just like pushes out his hands and does force it. But I'm like, they've always been superhero movies essentially. So it doesn't bug me. But yeah.
I remember the scene in the second movie where he is dealing with, is it Agent Smith?
Mm-hmm.
He's fighting Agent Smith in an empty park, or a ruined park or whatnot, when suddenly he realizes that there are hundreds of them swarming into the park, and he says, upgrades. This disgusted tone. And I always remember that scene because every single upgrade that you get to any technological device is always worse. Always worse. And every time it happens, every time I turn on the MacBook and there's a little box saying you must upgrade, you put this off too many times, you must upgrade, it's now mandatory, I always mutter that to myself and remember that scene. that was prescient, that scene.
Yeah, there's I don't know, and maybe it's the I don't know what it is about those Matrix movies. Maybe it's that I saw them when I was young enough that they made such an impression on me, although it would have been just the first three at that. I'm young, I'm not that young that I was watching Matrix 4 as a kid, but yeah, those combined with I adore Keanu Reeves. I think he, like, as an actor, he's endlessly watchable. And Lawrence Fishburne plays like one of the best wizards in any movie as Morpheus. Like, that's essentially what he's doing. He's the wise old wizard character. So
yeah, the all of Hollywood just stands in pure envy of the career of Keanu Reeves. I mean, because you've got, usually lightning strikes once in your career. If you're lucky, it strikes once in your career. It doesn't strike regularly like clockwork. But with Keanu Reeves, you have Bill and Ted, then The Matrix, then John Wick. That's just incredible. Mm-hmm. It's just amazing that those could be three substantially different things that all worked. I mean, what other Hollywood star can say that?
Yeah. And it's funny for the Wachowskis, especially, that it's like they made this little crime movie, and then they make The Matrix, and nothing that they do again is ever popular. Like the Matrix sequels, the first two make their money back, but they're pretty divisive. And then Speed Racer, Cloud Atlas, Jupiter Ascending, Matrix 4, even their Netflix show are all like super high concept, super ambitious, and just, I don't know if it's that people don't know how to market their stuff. I mean, it's partially that. But like,
I can't believe I'm talking to a Jupiter Ascending fan.
Yeah, I like it. I think it is aware of how silly. I think the movie's pretty self-aware of how silly some of the things that it's doing is. But
are you enough of a Wachowski fan to like Speed Racer?
Yeah. Once again, those two are like, in my rankings of it, it's like probably the Matrix 1 and 4, Cloud Atlas, Matrix 2 and 3, and then Speed Racer, and then Jupiter Ascending is at the bottom. But yeah, I do like Speed Racer as well. Yeah. So he was like, all right, never mind. I'm Xing out. Where do I get out here? I'm questioning Sam's taste and everything.
I think it's fantastic. I just think it's fantastic.
Well, you got to have the Wachowski fan to balance out the Nolan fan, the equally bad taste on both sides, I guess.
Boy, though, it makes you, you've got these creative visionaries. You've got the creative visionaries, and you've also finally got a special effects industry that can do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, you've got all these great stories. Why are their adaptations so bad or left in the hands of partisans who are not going to look at their entertainment value?
Yeah.
Why don't we have first and second book of Samuel? Why don't we have the Book of Kings with those special effects? That raw, sandstormy, unpredictable world threaded through with violence and heroism that is the overarching spell of so much of the narrative parts of the Old Testament. Where has that ever been filmed?
Yeah.
It's just you can go all the way back to Cecil B. DeMille. You're either going to get somebody who's it's frustrating for me. That's all. Directors, producers that raise money, they can make avatars until the cows come home if they want to. But I think about all these things out there that have not had that kind of elaborate treatment. I guess maybe I should count my blessings, considering how Game of Thrones ended. I should probably, maybe it's a good thing, or that the weird whatever that TV adaptation of the Foundation books, whatever that was. I don't even know. I've watched it probably twice.
Well, Steve, if we're lucky, when Chris Nolan is done with the Odyssey, maybe he does Kings.
I fear that the Odyssey is going to make $1 billion and that he is going to do the Iliad.
Yeah,
which would be just if his Odyssey is any indication, then
I would say what you described there, though, of that conflict between such good stories and now we have means to do it. That's essentially what the movie Speed Racer is about, which is this kid who's young and he's passionate and all he cares about is racing and he wants to race. And the whole movie is about him butting heads with the corporate types who run the races. And they're like, listen, kid, racing's not about racing and cars. It's about the money and the stock prices and, the sponsorships. And it's all about that stuff. That's what's important. Because if you don't get that done, we can't do the racing stuff either. So that's the real important part. Which is funny.
Don't tell me you're going to make me rewatch Speed Racer. You probably are. I might even rewatch Jupiter Ascending. Don't I remember one standout good sequence in Jupiter Ascending? In every Wachowski movie, there's always one sequence that really stands out, except for The Matrix, which has a few of them.
Yeah.
What was it though?
There's a sequence where they get chased by these alien bounty hunters through Chicago that people usually point to as being good. So I don't know if it's that one.
That might have been it. That might have been the one. The Wachowskis have a thing for chase sequences. When they do them really well.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to rewatch it. Oh my god. Is it Matthew Fox in Speed Racer as Racer X?
He might be. I don't know. I'm not as familiar with Matthew Fox.
Well, the star of Lost.
I never saw Lost. That was before my time. Do you like the ending of Lost? That's all I hear is that Lost's ending was as bad as Game of Thrones. So
yeah, no, it was terrible. But I certainly love the beginning. God, I remember when the promos for that were being shown all around. The bravura opening sequence of the crashed plane and everybody, the long panning shot of everybody waking up, of the main character waking up on a tropical beach. you know, you can do anything. If you open a show like that, you can do anything that follows that. But you've never seen it.
Mm-mm.
So you didn't see Matthew Fox's previous vehicle, Party of Five.
Mm-mm.
Watch that either. That was also before your time.
I was too busy just rewatching The Matrix, just on loop, you know.
I think when Party of Five was dominating the WB, you were probably busy being born.
Probably the movie. I joke about The Matrix on loop, but this is where I go back to the Nolan fanboy thing. The movie I watched on loop as a kid was Inception. Like 12, 13-year-old. I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. I can't believe it. Oh my gosh. So yeah.
What did you make of the Conan movie with Jason Momoa?
I think it falls.
You liked?
I think it falls apart in the second half. I think the opening, like 40 minutes of it, I was like, man, I like this more than the Schwarzenegger like Conan movie. This is really I actually really am like digging this. And then about halfway through, 2/3 of the way through, I felt like it fell apart a good bit, and the ending I didn't like at all. I mean, they say that they're bringing Schwarzenegger back for an old King Conan. Well, I'll believe it when I see it. I've liked Chris McQuarrie's, like his Tom Cruise movies, but I don't know about a Conan movie. I guess we'll see. But
yeah, the opening sequence of the Jason Momoa Conan with a teenage Conan, all the boys are told you have to carry an egg in your mouth, and if you break it, you lose. Yeah. And he not only makes it all the way back to the village, he slaughters a bunch of people and then spits out the whole egg. That's just terrific. I mean, it doesn't have Jason Momoa in it, but that is just terrific. That is a sign of Conan. But did you watch the Solomon Kane movie?
So I haven't watched that one yet. Is it James Purefoy as Kane in that one?
I think so, yeah.
I don't remember, but
I think so.
Yeah, I've heard it's kind of a B movie.
But it's almost unwatchable. It's almost unwatchable. I mean, I'm not a big fan of. I can't imagine how it got financed.
Yeah.
What do you say about? I want to make a Solomon Kane movie.
Right. Well, it must be this one lady director in Hollywood who's super passionate about Robert E. Howard, because she's the same one who made the Red Sonja movie from last year, which I haven't seen either. But it's like, I guess just this one lady is like, Howard's the man, which like I agree, but it's like the one person pushing for these Robert E. Howard adaptations.
I never saw the Red Sonja movie.
I don't know.
And I don't know who you would contact to do that. Red Sonja in the public imagination isn't owned by Robert E. Howard. So the Robert E. Howard Foundation. Yeah. So you could do, I don't know how you would do that. The Marvel Comics version of Red Sonja would make a terrific movie. I'm amazed that it hasn't been greenlit. I mean, it's right up modern Hollywood's alley, only legitimately so. In a way that, you know, the YouTube channels that hate everything will hate it, but I won't hate it. I wouldn't hate it. There's a reason why in the Marvel Comics version of Red Sonja, there's a reason why she's unbeatable.
The one that I really want to see is what is it, early 2000s or late 90s Kevin Sorbo King Cole movie. I didn't realize that existed until a few months ago, and now I'm like,
oh really? Oh,
I've got.
Yeah, it exists all right. It exists all right. It's a conflict for me, just personally. It's a conflict for me because Kevin Sorbo has had health problems, but before he did, for Cull and also for Hercules, he really is good in terms of delivery, in terms of presence on the screen, in terms of hitting his mark, in terms of generosity to the other actors around him. He really is good. And you can definitely see that in the Cull movie. There's not much in the Cull movie, but you can definitely see it. And I want to acknowledge that, but he also became a fascist. So and is one now, a very vocal fascist. So it's difficult for me on just a personal level I doubt that I would see him in a project. I doubt that I would see him if he did something new.
You don't want to watch God's Not Dead 16, number 16, Steve?
No, no, no. Oh my God. Oh my God. I watched the first 3 God's Not Dead movies, especially the first one.
Oh, that's impressive. I only saw the first 2, so.
Oh my God. For the first movie, God's Not Dead. Oh my God. Oh my God. I honestly don't know which group was more egregiously insulted by that movie, Christians or atheists. They both get it awful, just awful. And the director, the writer, they don't seem to know it. They just don't seem aware of how insulting they're being to both groups.
Since we're on the topic, and you brought up biblical adaptations a minute ago, have you watched any of The Chosen?
Oh God, yes. Yeah.
Do you like it?
I love it. Just love it.
I haven't finished. I'm not caught up. I've really liked what I've seen, though.
The bit actors are not all that good. I mean, the disciples are a lot of them are not all that good. The himbo that they have playing John, or no, Peter, you know, the one with no sleeves.
Yeah.
In every episode, someone is coming close to the master, a Roman soldier or a city official, and he's always right there, you know, flexing right there, and then immediately he backs away. Immediately he assumes the position. But when you've got a star like the star here, and also some of the moments, I mean, in almost every episode there is a moment that is just spine-chillingly good.
Yeah,
which I just love. I absolutely love it. The one that I force on guests when they come here, even though they're not at all interested, I still do it. Is the original, the first arc of Mary of Magdalene, where we get scenes of her as a little girl with her father, where he is reciting a verse from the Old Testament, that thus saith the Lord, that you are mine, that I spoke your name. And then we see the degradation of her life, and we see her hit rock bottom, and she runs out of a bar, and Jesus is following her. And when he calls her by name and she turns around, he quotes that verse, and it just totally destroys her. And that is wonderful. That is absolutely wonderful. And I would ordinarily say, you know, the New Testament has plenty of material in it. You don't need to add to it. But when the additions are as beautiful as they are here, the scene with Jesus and the woman at the well, that scene in the New Testament is moving, but it's even better. I mean,
it's historical fiction is what the show is, you know.
Right.
Historical fiction show. It's not trying to be the Gospel of John, you know.
When Jesus is describing the tones and smells of her husbands, you know, in the kind of novelistic detail that the authors of the New Testament would not have thought to include.
Yeah.
It's totally effective. Yeah. It's just totally effective. And also, you got me going on the subject. I promise I'll stop. But also, The Chosen has a moment that I think best describes the phenomenon of Christianity in the lives of true Christians, which is no small thing. There are theologians that write their whole lives and can't describe that. There's a scene where Nicodemus, the high priest of the Sanhedrin, meets Mary of Magdalene. He only knew her as a prostitute named Lilith. He meets her as an obviously changed person. She doesn't look desperate anymore. She's not drunk anymore. And she doesn't go by that name anymore. And he, for a moment, humorously, he thinks that he is the reason why she changed. Of course, it isn't true. And she tells him, no, there was someone who changed me. I don't know his name. And then she says, all I can tell you is this. I was one way, and now I am completely different. And what happened in between was him. Every real Christian that I've ever known in my life, that is a description of what they went through. That is a description of what their faith is. And that, I've watched every adaptation of the Jesus story that's ever been made. I've never seen anything come close to the simplicity of that.
Yeah.
The accuracy of that. Just loved it. Absolutely loved it. I mean, some of the scenes are botched mainly because of the hammy overacting of the disciples. You really have to get them down. You really have to have good people in those roles. otherwise they will drag down the scenes that, you know, they're so important to so many scenes. The scene where they see Jesus walking on the water, they're all so annoying. I wanted them all to drown. You're not supposed to want that. You're not supposed to want that in that scene. which is why I've mentioned to you before Franco Zeffirelli's Jesus of Nazareth.
Yeah.
And there, Zeffirelli knew that, so he got a lot of really good actors for the key roles as the disciples, and it helps. It helps a lot. But
I've been watching The Chosen for a few years now, and I like it. I think, like you said, I think Jonathan Rumi is tapped into something playing Jesus, because it's not degrading the trying to portray a divine aspect to him, and yet it is so incredibly human, to the extent that, like, I've talked to many Christians who have been like, I've never seen Jesus as a man before, and I'm finally like able to make that connection just through this piece of art. And I think that they've got, like you said, the lady playing Mary Magdalene, I think is very good. And I think some of the guys playing some of the Roman characters, I've especially liked. I'm trying to remember his name. The like one Roman, like grumpy Roman commander guy.
Yeah, the main one.
Yeah, he's
he's
great.
The actor they get, the bald actor they get as Pontius Pilate, is amazing. Scene stealingly good.
Yeah.
When previous directors adapting this material have wanted to express the human side of Jesus, they've almost always cut out the divine side. Like in, you know, the Passion of the Christ, or not the Passion of the Christ, the Last Temptation. Yeah, where you get a very human Jesus there, but you don't for a minute believe the divine part. Whereas in The Chosen, Jesus is very much a flesh and blood man, but he's always making these aside comments. He knows what's going on, and he knows that you're watching 2,000 years later in a world completely dominated by Christianity. That is neat. That is well done. I think that's the perfect way you do it, to give us a human Jesus who is also far more than human. That you have to have that sense of what's coming. The best adaptations, the best historical stuff like this does. Like in Zeffirelli's Jesus of Nazareth, when the whole thing is over, Zeffirelli adds a bit of dialogue. He adds a character named Zira, who is a clerk in the Great Temple, and who goes to the tomb and finds it empty. And the Roman soldiers are all there, and they're all protesting. There was no one. We didn't do anything wrong. And he is looking at the drapery in the tomb. And one of the characters in the scene says, "Well, at least it's over now." And Zira says, no, now it all begins. And that's terrific. Absolutely terrific. There's a moment like that in the miniseries Masada, which is not a biblical adaptation, but it looks forward anyway. It looks forward in the same way. A bunch of Roman soldiers have been given Jewish land. They've just been told, take it over, kick the priests out of this land, take control of their wine presses and their threshing floors and whatnot. And when the Roman centurion is ordering the Sanhedrin, these Sadducees, to leave, he says, you know, order the Roman people. And the Sadducee says, well, we would have to have left anyway, because the minute you set foot on our soil, it became fouled. All the Roman emperors before have never dared to do this. And the centurion, very full of himself, says, if you live long enough, you see everything. And the Sadducee looks at him and says, yes, centurion, you speak the truth. And in that moment, you know Rome is going to fall to Christianity. It's going to become Christian. But it's looking forward in that way. And the Chosen does that perfectly, because that is what Jesus is doing all the time. Just all the time. When Pilate looks at him and says, you know, I have a feeling that I'm not really understanding you. And Jesus says, I have a feeling that's going to be a common reaction. That's awesome. That's just awesome. That's just all there is to it. I don't know anything about the back end of this production. I have no idea how it came about, but I love it. Just love it.
Is there any way to watch like Masada anymore, or is it just gone? Like you just have to find an old DVD somewhere?
A friend of mine just recently actually did get the hold of the DVD.
Okay.
But I don't have any technology to play a DVD. Because you have to buy a DVD player. But I don't think it exists otherwise. I'm not sure. But boy, is it good. Oh my.
It's this is the thing, like everybody talks about, like, oh, streaming is the future, and that's what drives me like nuts, is that there's so many things that just, once it leaves the streaming service, poof, it's gone. You'll never see
Yeah.
it again. Like it's like, man, like movie pirating would be much less of a thing if stuff was just like, here, take my $3. I will pay you the money to watch it for an
Yep.
evening if you just make it available.
That's why if you are tempted, if you hear people going on and on about physical media, man, and you're tempted to dismiss them as just your average hipster, don't do it. They're absolutely right. Physical media that cannot be taken away from you.
And
Whether that is, DRM stripped, side-loaded book files, or whether it's DVDs or printed paper books or whatever. Yeah, if you're at the mercy of streaming services, you're not going to know the 10th of what's out there.
Yeah. Well, and it hits a little bit closer to home as it hits close to home in a different way as a parent, where we've got one of these smart TVs where within 2 pushes of a button, if my 2-year-old knew what he was doing, could pull up anything. And so it's like, maybe we have like a set DVD collection of like, these are, we'll let him watch like Thomas the Tank Engine, and these set things. So yeah.
Well, now you've got me thinking about all my favorite scenes from The Chosen. That's not fair. What a pendulum swing. Now first you had me wanting to rewatch Speed Racer, and now rewatch The Chosen. Good Lord. That's going to give me whiplash.
That is some whiplash.
Very good writing. It's very good writing.
Yeah.
All throughout. It's deceptively simple. I promised I wouldn't go on about this, but that deceptive simplicity it shares in common with the actual New Testament. Where, with the possible exception of some parts of Luke, these things are deceptively simple. You read them, you can read them at a trot without realizing until long afterwards the immense dramatic power of what you're reading. I don't mean to go on and on. I'm thinking of the scene with the crippled man at the pool of Bethesda, where Jesus says, "Do you want to be healed?" And the man goes on and on about how I am here every day. No one helps me. No one will let me near the pool. And he goes on and on and on. And Jesus brings him up short and says, "That's not what I asked you."
Yeah.
That's incredible. Just so simple.
And it's so true to life. Like, how many people do you know who had, and maybe not even something physical, although it could be that, but some affliction or ailment in their life where it's like, at a certain point, they actually don't want to let it go. It's become such a part of their identity that they wouldn't know. No, they don't. They don't want to be healed, and so even in that story, like, it becomes a type of parable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let me give you whiplash again, because this is more on the fiction side of things.
If you ever come here to Hyde Cottage, you and I are going to watch Jesus of Nazareth from start to finish. Well, we won't be able to watch it from start to finish, will we? Because you have to be dormant for 15 hours out of every 24. We'll do our best. We'll start early and we'll do our best. But anyway, go ahead.
That's right. I've been hearing a lot. One of these are 2 new books, and I want to hear your take on them, Steve. So one of them came out last year and then just won a bunch of prizes. And then the other one is this year. What do you think of Angel Down and Yesteryear?
If there was a Boston cream pie riding on it, could you make an accurate guess what I think of Yesteryear? Could you guess what I think of it?
I would probably guess that you weren't too terribly impressed with it. But
they both stink. They're both awful.
They're both awful?
Yeah, they're both awful. Undercooked, no characters, repetitive, stupid dialogue, stripped of all awareness, all that thing that we mentioned about how the writer has a complete control over their own narrative. That's not there. That's not there at all. There isn't a complete narrative. That's just bits and pieces hanging off the back of the wagon. Juvenile, utterly juvenile. Just.
So what's made something like, because especially Yesteryear is just taken off, is just extremely popular. What makes a book like that take off so much? Is it just because it's talk about hot button social things? Is it book talk and marketing, or?
Yeah, it's pandering to doom scrolling. It's pandering to people who want to read about how much time they waste. They want to read about. I mean, there is probably a great novel to be written about YouTube, some variation of YouTube, some variation of social media and FOMO and whatnot, but that's not it. But yeah, it's immediately identifiable to people. It's writing about a world that they know much better than they now know books. Every year, I make a year-end list of the best fiction.
Mm-hmm.
And 2026, that's going to be a real challenge. It's going to be a real challenge.
Well, the Solomon Kane novel can go on there.
I like to make a list of the best science fiction and the best fantasy. The Solomon Kane novel was good, but isn't anywhere near. Think about earlier years. Think about, I mean, there was a year where Robert Silverberg's Lord Valentine's Castle came out. There was a year when Hyperion came out. How am I supposed to put the Solomon Kane book on
what makes
the problem with these year-end lists is I'm trying not to adulterate my standards. I'm trying to use the same standard that I would have used the year that The Mote in God's Eye came out. And in 2026, there has not been published by a mainstream press a science fiction or a fantasy novel that is even very good, just good, is as high as they have gone, and we're in July. Just good is as high as they have gone.
When looking at something like Angel Down, which famously uses this gimmick of the entire book is written in one sentence, with no periods, just commas, kinetic action, they say, and you compare that to something like Cloud Atlas, where it's got this fractured storytelling style with all, they call it a nesting doll narrative, or even something like Matthew Stover in Revenge of the Sith uses second person at times, and like, what makes one thing gimmicky and the other like stylized and experimental and like it work? Is it just? I guess I've been thinking about that. What makes one like, this is just a gimmick to draw attention versus people who really can use it well?
It's a bedrock attitude of the author. That's what distinguishes them. Does the author believe that the fundamental form of the novel is dead, completely played out, old-fashioned, and it needs the Kwisatz Haderach? It needs a messiah to come along and reinvent it. Does the author think that? Or does the author think, no, this form has endless possibilities in it. It's up to me to rise to the challenge. It has I can do endless things within this form without declaring it dead and trying to reinvent it or mock its dead body. It's that attitude. It's the basic attitude of the author. It comes off like neon on the page. When an author thinks, novels, they're not much, well, then A, that person doesn't read novels, and B, what kind of a novel they're going to write. And it's going to be Angel Down. It's going to be Danieluski. It's going to be all these gigantic door stoppers that come out that have as their shared ethos that the novel is a dead form. So, it needs to be reinvented. It doesn't need to be reinvented. It's not a dead form at all. Who the heck do you think you are? Whereas if you come along with a ton of inventiveness and write a really stylistically challenging novel, well, then you will get, Cloud Atlas, or in my opinion, Duck's Newburyport. You'll get something that, respects the world, respects the métier.
So tell me about your experience, because what you reminded me of is, tell me about your experience the first time reading Cuba Fruit by Alexander Sarando.
Yeah, I was blown away. Just blown away. And keep in mind, the Cuba Fruit that I read is different from the one that was published.
How so?
Well, I read, the original manuscript, which took even more stylistic flyers
Hmm.
than the sanded down and slightly vetted book that was published ended up taking. Not that the published book was, watered down, but I don't. I have a copy of it on the shelf, and I don't think I've actually read that copy. I have the file that I read instead. Alex sent me the file, and I read it in a gulp. I could not stop reading it. It was so good. But again, very much what I'm talking about. Very much not saying, oh no, this is a dead form, so I need to come along and reinvent it. Very much not saying that. I mean,
and once again, this speaks to I just haven't read nearly enough, so I don't have as many points of references. But I read that last year, and then when I read Cloud Atlas this year, I was like, I wonder if Sarando was influenced by Cloud Atlas.
I don't know if Alex has read it. He'd like it, I think, if he did. He'd certainly find it interesting, I think.
Yeah.
The place in that hypothetical where I can't go is that he's as talented a writer as David Mitchell, and I'm not. So whatever his initial reaction to Cloud Atlas would be, it would go beyond me. It would be happening on some plane that I don't get. I can talk about these things to other people, but I can't enter that realm myself. I am Moses, debarred from the promised land.
That makes sense.
So it's great to hear that you're a Chosen fan. That's fantastic.
Yeah. I'll be honest. I should confess, especially if my friend Tyler watches this. I wrote it off at first because I was like, okay, this is like because the first season's relatively small budget, which you can tell.
You definitely can tell. Yeah,
the writing is good, and that's what makes up for it. That, and the actors who do a great job. But I was like, as like a small budget, like Jesus show, like I don't know, haven't I kind of seen this a dozen times before? And my friend Tyler recommended I check it out. I was like, I don't know. And then he didn't exactly like force feed it to me, but when he was finally like, okay, like put your big boy pants on. Yeah, I loved it. So finally became a grown up and watched it, and I really liked it. So
took me a while to get past Peter's biceps, and it took his useless biceps. It took me a while to get past the rather obvious modern ADHD signaling of Matthew.
Yeah.
And it also took me a while to get the show's conception of Jesus. But once I did, oh boy. I mean, I was hooked on Mary Magdalene first. But once I got the show's conception of Jesus is amazing.
Well, and who the showrunner is a guy named Dallas Jenkins, who is the son of Jerry B. Jenkins, the Left Behind author.
Oh no. Yeah. Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh no. Oh my God.
So his dad then writes novelizations of each season of the show after it comes out. So
there are novelizations of The Chosen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who publishes them? How did I not know this?
I don't know. It might be like Thomas Nelson or something like that. I don't know.
Are they any good? Are they reputed?
I haven't read them. I have family members who have read them and liked them, but I haven't read them.
Well, and your family members are also religious,
yeah,
right? So what if you're plugged into that world? What's your impression of how religious groups think of The Chosen? Do they like it?
It's a pretty hot button topic, to be perfectly honest. There are people, especially in the more reformed, I would say more like staunchly, I don't mean this politically, but on a social level, like conservative side of things, that just anytime you're doing anything with the Bible, they get very like, hey, no, don't, you're adding to the words, and will be very
people like that would not like the human elements of the show.
No, and that's the other thing is like I know people who just the fact that Jesus will like wink at one of his disciples or will tell a joke.
Or tell a joke. Yeah, he
Yep,
tells jokes.
or laugh. There's the in the wedding at Cana. They're all ribbing. I think it's Andrew about how he's a horrible dancer, and they're like, "Oh, Rabbi, can you do something about that?" He's like, there's some things even I can't do." And I know people who are like,
Or all
"It's
the
blasphemous."
the Jewish mother jokes about Peter's mother, or Peter's mother, who's sick, and
Right.
Jesus has to cure her, and they take full advantage for all the Jewish mother jokes there.
Yeah.
I can see where that would really bother a small C conservative group. But there are people who like it.
Yeah, but and so I guess I should say it's divisive in some circles, but there's certainly a lot of people who have, it's been huge for. About the only thing, and even this is a little bit before my time, that you can really compare it to, as far as I know, is something like how massive the Passion of the Christ was when it came out, and just like, we've never seen anything like this. This has shooken up a lot of people, although that's almost like a Christian horror movie, really, if you think about it. And The Chosen's something quite different, but in that same way that it just kind of spread like wildfire. Yeah, it's been very popular amongst religious circles too.
I wonder, has it been like actually financially popular? Is it a juggernaut in terms of that? I wonder.
It began the first few seasons where it was completely crowdfunded, of people giving donations.
It was crowdfunded.
Yeah.
Oh wow, did not know that.
Later on, I think they ended up picking up more funding so they could do things with bigger budgets, and went from there. But my understanding is that it has been very successful, and that many of the people involved have been making plans to do maybe a spin-off show about Acts, or do stuff from the Old Testament afterwards. So yeah. Wow. This is interesting for me, because basically the only people that I talk to about The Chosen are religious folks. So it's interesting to talk to. I think it's safe to say you're not religious, Steve. Not religious person about The Chosen.
I'm not just an atheist. I'm a hard atheist.
Right. Yeah. I was like, I don't think that's I don't think that's the wrong way to say it. But yes, very much not religious person about The Chosen.
No, not at all. So. No, not at all. And it's refreshing for me too to talk. Every once in a while, I get a chance to talk to a actual believing Christian who is not threatened by that fact. We can just meet in the middle and talk about this thing, which is great, because I've certainly known Christians in my life who, the minute they hear that I am not just an atheist, but a hard atheist, and for our listeners, that means I'm not saying, gee, I don't know. I'm saying I do know. I'm saying I do know. There's and a lot of religious people that I've met in my life, their reaction to that is either to excoriate me or to try endlessly to convert me. And both of those things end conversation. We can't have a conversation about how great these scenes are in Jesus of Nazareth or The Chosen if that is in the way.
And to be perfectly frank, Steve, I think there's two parts to it. One is that I know you've read the Bible more than I have. And so there's no use for me being like, well, let's go through the Romans road or whatever.
Oh, no, the Romans road. No.
I think the other part of it is, as far as my faith goes, is a confidence that the phrase that people will say is that the judge of all the earth will do right. And that it's not my job to be like, out of fear, shake people and be like, you need to believe what I believe or else you'll be in big trouble. It's like, it's something that I found to be significant, hugely significant, transformational in my life. And so that's why I like talking about it, and why I'm like, hey, I'm on BookTube, and also Gene Wolfe, Tim Powers, Orson Scott Card. Like, I'm not being subtle about, where my taste and tendencies lie in terms of the things that impact me. But also it's, in terms of my beliefs, it's that it's God that saves, and not my debating skills or shaking people by the collar that saves.
Yeah, the polite version of shaking people by the collar is specifically advocated by Jesus. go and make disciples of all nations. And when he's in a tetchy mood, in the tetchy Gospels, he's more or less clear that the people who don't accept him are bad. He's not all that explicit about it, not often, not consistently. But you could see where certain strands of Christians would get that attitude.
Right.
I think it's far more prevalent when you're reading it is the attitude that you describe, where, if your life is witness, then the real work will be done elsewhere. It will be done by someone else who's capable of it, of changing hearts. Whereas, it's always been a rather barren approach for a certain kind of Christian in my life to try to take the kind of scriptural route that tends to work. I've loved the Bible. I love it, and I know it fairly well. Usually in my life, in my experience, I've known it better than the Christians who are trying to use it against me, and they quickly get that. they quickly get that. I'd rather celebrate it with them.
Anyway, what do you think of a book like Dominion by Tom Holland?
It was energetically written. It is very enjoyable. I have a paperback of it, but some of its larger contentions, I would argue with him until the cows came home about how he can make some of his broader contentions about the civilizing effect of institutional Christianity, the beneficent effects of institutional Christianity. I don't think you have to look very hard at history to see a drastic counter argument to that is not in his book at all. I mean, to me, throughout most of Christianity's existence, the amazing things that Christians do, the amazing work they do, the selfless work they do, the I don't matter work they do, is done in the shadow of institutional Christianity doing just the opposite, doing the exact opposite. So you have the church militant violently oppressing New World natives, brutalizing them, raping them, and also selling them en masse into slavery. While at the exact same time, you have individual missionaries and their families risking everything to bring the latest medicine to villages that they know are going to hate them, to bring the word that has changed their lives to villages that they know are going to reject it, to bring literacy, basic sanitation, all that stuff that, for instance, demagogues like Christopher Hitchens just ignore. That Christians have been doing that for thousands of years, knowing that they're going to be tortured and killed for it. There is no other religion, no other denomination, no other thought or school of thought that ever propels people to do that sort of thing, to help like that. And they're always doing that at the same time that institutional Christianity is doing the opposite. So, and Tom Holland pays attention to the one and totally ignores the other, totally ignores the other, which I don't get that at all. I don't actually know the point of Dominion. It doesn't do anybody any favors to ignore as much as he ignores in that book.
Sure. I haven't read it, but it's hugely popular as a history book, and so I've heard a lot of people talk about it.
I would love to know what you think of it. It is really good. It is really consistently entertaining, consistently in thought-provoking. It's just Dermot McCullough wrote a gigantic book, an 1,100-page book called Christianity: The First 3,000 Years. It covers basically the same ground and has basically the same thematic preoccupations as Dominion, only it's roughly 10,000 times better. It's just the scholarship, the thinking, the writing, the prose is just. I always want to swap. If I can, when people say, "Oh, I just love Dominion," I want to say, "Have you heard about this book?" But it's such an ask. It's such a big book that it's a real request to people to ask to read it.
No, that makes sense. I guess I have one last topic here because I need to land the plane somewhat soon.
You don't want to talk for 5 more hours about Christianity?
I wish I would.
It's
I
so
wish.
refreshing. It's just so refreshing. It's so refreshing to talk to a Christian who can actually talk about these things. That is, it is still rare for me.
Well, I'm curious to know, one of these things that goes around on book circles online is people will say, men don't read anymore, and also they don't make books for men.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if you have thoughts about this, or if you've heard much about that conversation. Do you think the people creating books of like 10 books every man should read, like, is that silly? Do you think there's a necessary part to that where it's like actually like we should try to get more guys reading, or what's sort of your thought on it?
Those things, those listicles, and also those YouTube videos always strike me as being more about not a certain kind of book, but a certain kind of man. And they never seem aware of that fact. They never do. They always seem to think they're talking about a certain kind of book. When that isn't true.
Interesting. Okay.
It just isn't true. The Martian by Andy Weir, Dungeon Crawler Carl, these are plot propulsive, dumb books. That doesn't mean that they're for men. That means they're for readers who like plot propulsive, dumb books. It always amazes me that we can say, people are perfectly happy to say that about books for men, and those same people universally just offhandedly condemn romantasy. When it's the same thing. In both cases, we're talking about a certain kind of reader, not a certain kind of book. I think that all readers should constantly be upping their game. The more you work those muscles, the more complexity and nuance you experience, the more you expose yourself to in what you're reading, well, the more of it is out there. And look how much is fenced off from you if you don't increase those muscles. Look at how much you'll never experience if that's the case. There isn't a single person that I have seen with, a sternum-length beard making a video about books that men should read. I've watched probably on YouTube, I've watched probably 100 videos like that, and I've read God knows how many listicles. And first of all, there's a huge amount of overlap. But if they mention, for instance, Tolstoy, they'll mention War and Peace. But the other books on their list make it clear that the kind of male reader they're talking about will not ever read Anna Karenina. And look at what you're missing. If that's the kind of reader that you either make yourself or accept that you are, well, Anna Karenina is the least of it. You're never going to read Jane Austen. You're never going to read Virginia Woolf. The men who are targeted by those listicles are the type of men who are being told not only don't ever read Mrs. Dalloway, but it's okay if you never read Mrs. Dalloway, and they're losing out. They're losing out on that. It frustrates me. Those kinds of things frustrate me because I don't like anyone telling readers what box they have to stay in. And that's what those videos, they all take the tone that they are empowering men. But universally, they're doing the opposite. Universally, they're telling men, this is kind of where you should stay.
So you gonna make a 10 books that every man should read video then?
I would make 10 books that readers should read. But I mean, I've watched so many of those videos, and I think, okay, well, first of all, you're not listing much nonfiction, and you should be. But also in the fiction,
David Goggins, Jordan Peterson.
Exactly. Oh, God, it's just. I think about, for instance, you're telling men that they have to read, I don't know, Spartacus or whatever, and I'm thinking of Orlando by Virginia Woolf, a weird, rippling, nuanced book in which a character changes sex. And you can draw a line right from there to Candide, to Tom Jones. These men are never going to read these books, if not if they're following this kind of reductive advice. It's a million years ago when we started this conversation, we mentioned the choice that Neo gives. If you're happy being plugged into the Matrix and you live your normal life and nothing to worry about it, don't want to deal with the rawness of the real world, fine, that's your decision. And if you decide otherwise, well, then you can unplug. And it's a very unpleasant experience, but at least you won't be in a coddled, mannered world. And all of those lists of, here are men don't read anymore, and here are the books to fix that. They're all designed to keep you in the Matrix. Not to get all black pilly or red pilly on you here. They're all designed to do that. When you know as well as I do that the real unbelievable thrill of reading is that books don't want to do that. They want to break you out of all those boxes. They're the good ones, the really good ones, are trying to do that all the time. It's frustrating. It's very frustrating. Because I don't want anybody to be the kind of reader that those lists seem to be wanting to shape. I don't want anybody to be that. I don't like cloistered readers. When you have so little time and there's so much out there, it's very much you choosing to, just be this naked adult embryo in a sack that machines are harvesting. If that made any sense. I don't know if that made any sense.
But. That makes sense. Yeah. So your list would then be Blood Meridian, Infinite Jest, Stoner.
All these people read Pride and Prejudice. Read Pride and Prejudice. Read Mrs. Dalloway. Read The House of Mirth. You could almost say that I'm saying read women. I could almost say that. I don't know. Wow, what an idea. You could almost say that. Or, if you're leery about reading women, read Wolf Hall.
There you go.
As masculine a book as you could ask for, written by a woman, but as thorough an inhabitation of a man's viewpoint in the world as you could ask for.
One of my favorites, Flannery O'Connor. Great. I like, I don't know. She's not necessarily a masculine author, but there's just something about her writing that has just always just like hooked me. I love Flannery O'Connor.
And if you're feeding these little manlet readers, if you're feeding them a listicle that's half Cormac McCarthy, how are they ever even going to reach for Flannery O'Connor? How are they ever even going to reach for that? Then it's sad. It's a sad thing for me. It shows a poor teaching, which always bothers me.
Because on the one hand, I think it has become kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy of like, men don't read. And I don't, it's like, man, like, but like you should want more guys to read, right? Like, surely if you believe reading is a good thing for people to do, then like we shouldn't be making fun of people who are trying to get guys to read. At the same time, I think that it's good for people to read a lot of different types of things. And even though my own reading taste can seem rather myopic at times, like that's something that I try to work on, of like reading a little bit outside of just, the echo chambers that I tend to be in.
Yeah. The underlying sentiment of like that guy that went viral by going into was it a Target and looking at their book section? It was all romantasy. And he went viral by asking, where are the books for men? And the underlying sentiment is, where are the books that are comfortable for men to read? Only that. I just want books that are comfortable for me to read. And that's only a tiny fraction of reading. I know that I'm on thin ground, since I've already admitted to reading A Fighting Man of Mars for the millionth time just recently. But I also read lots of other stuff. But these lists of books that men should read are books that men will feel comfortable reading, when it'll do you a lot of good to read stuff that makes you uncomfortable.
Well, you brought up the Target section, so I have to ask, Steve, do you like Frida McFadden?
Again, if there were a Boston cream pie riding on it, could you guess? Could you guess whether or not I like Frida McFadden?
What's her famous one called? Is it The Housekeeper, The Housemaid, whatever it is?
Something like that.
I was just reading it and I was laughing as I was going through it. I'm like, man, like this lady really knows how to push every button. And also the story only works if everyone takes stupid pills in every chapter.
Yeah. Yeah. It's words in the English language on a printed page. That's about as much as it shares in common with so much. There's so much out there that's good.
Yeah. Well, I should wrap things up, Steve. But thank you so much for hanging out with me this evening. If anybody hasn't already subscribed to your channel, I'll be sure to link it down below.
No, unsubscribe.
Unsubscribe. Yeah, that's right. All right. Well, thank you everyone for watching this, and we will see you next time. Take care.